Good morning. Do you know that quiet moment? When you're sitting on the porch enjoying a warm cup of coffee, sunlight filtering through the leaves, everything's so peaceful until you brush your hair in front of the mirror. You look down at the comb or the strands of hair on the pillow and your heart skips a beat. It's not just about hair loss, right? It's the vague feeling that your body is changing in ways you can't control. I am Alan. I've seen my friend Mrs. Sarah in the suburbs of Chicago, quietly hiding fallen hair strands because she doesn't want her husband and children to worry. But today I want to sit down here like a friend and tell you that your hair is trying to talk to you. Is this simply age or an urgent signal from inside that we've accidentally missed? In the next few minutes, we won't talk about the expensive shampoo bottles you see in the supermarket. Instead, I'll share with you the secrets hidden deep in the blood and genetics, those silent seers deciding your beauty and vitality. Sit down, take another sip of coffee, and let me tell you this story. You'll want to hear it to the end, because the answer might bring you more hope than you think. I remember once sitting on the porch looking through an old family album with a friend of mine, Martha, a retired teacher living in Texas. We were laughing happily about the big bouffant hairstyles of the 80s when suddenly she stopped at a black and white photo of her grandmother. She sighed softly, her finger gliding over the picture and saying in a lowered voice, "I'm starting to look like her, Alan, but not in the way I want." Martha has always been proud of her thick hair, but lately she's noticed her center part getting wider. At first, she thought it was just the lighting in the bathroom, but then the monthly hair appointments, which are the most relaxing time for us women, became a secret anxiety. She feared the hairstylist would comment on the thinness of her hair, or worse, deliberately tease it up to cover the gaps. Have you ever felt your heart tighten when seeing your scalp clearly exposed under the flash in photos from your grandchild's graduation or a relative's wedding? If so, you're not alone. Actually, what Martha is going through isn't just old age. There's a silent seer operating inside our bodies that few notice, a genetic factor related to hormones. We often think baldness is a men's issue, but in fact, we women are also affected by a hormone called DHT. Imagine your hair follicle like a young green tree in the garden. DHT acts like a layer of cold frost, silently clinging to the roots. Over time, this frost layer makes the tree, or your hair follicle, shrink. The growing strands become thinner, weaker, and shorter until they become invisible or stop growing altogether. This is the follicle miniaturization process dictated by genetics. It doesn't happen overnight, but silently, quietly, like winter creeping in. But don't worry too much, because understanding this seer is the first step for us to regain control. And trust me, the story doesn't end here. Genetics is the foundation, but there are other storms in life that can sweep away our hair in a much harsher way. Before we delve into what that storm is and how to shelter safely, if you find these shares helpful, please take a second to hit the subscribe button. It helps us stay connected so I can continue sharing these stories with you. Now, let's talk about what happens when life throws us a big shock. Genetics is the foundation, as I shared, but sometimes it's the unexpected storms of life that sweep away hair in a much fiercer way. Have you ever felt life like driving on the highway in a snowstorm, hands gripping the wheel tightly, just praying to get home safely? When the storm clears, we think we're okay, but the body has a strangely delayed reaction. Let me tell you about Linda, a friend living in New Jersey. Linda is typical of the sandwich generation we often see, worrying about grown children while caring for elderly parents. Last year was truly a challenge when her husband underwent major heart surgery. For many months, she drove him to follow-ups, managed bills and financial worries as retirement approached. She bravely got through it all. But the irony is, exactly 3 months later, when everything was peaceful and she was preparing for Thanksgiving dinner, her hair started falling out in clumps every time she washed it. Do you know why there's this delay? This is a phenomenon science calls Telogen effluvium, or shock-induced hair loss. Imagine your hair follicle like a factory. When the body faces too much pressure, whether surgery or persistent anxiety, it sends a signal. Stop, we need to save energy to survive. So, a series of healthy growing hairs are forced to shift to the resting phase earlier than expected. They lie dormant there for about 3 months, then collectively leave the scalp. The feeling of seeing strands of hair all over the bathroom floor is terrifying, I understand. But the good news is, this is usually just the body's way of shedding leaves after the storm. It's temporary, and hair will grow back when peace returns. However, Linda's first reaction, and perhaps many of ours when seeing hair loss, is to rush to the supermarket, Costco, or nearby pharmacy. We often seek some miracle pill to salvage the situation immediately. But is that shiny vitamin bottle on the shelf really the savior as rumored? Imagine you're standing in a forest of colorful supplement bottles at the store, all promising to bring back the youthful cascade of hair. It's hard not to be tempted, right? I remember once bumping into Emily, an old friend, at the vitamin counter in Costco on a crowded Saturday afternoon. Her shopping cart was full of large bags, but what she held tightly in her hand was a giant bottle of Biotin 5,000 micrograms. Emily looked at me with eyes full of hope and worry. Alan, I heard this is a miracle for thick hair again. I'm planning to take double the dose to be sure. That moment reminded me of many other friends who also believed biotin is the all-powerful key for hair. But the truth might surprise you. Is that little bottle really the savior? Or is it silently distorting important indicators in your body? The fact is, biotin, or vitamin B7, is indeed an essential nutrient, but most of us, who eat adequately, rarely lack it. Scientific studies have shown that unless you have a rare genetic issue or severe malabsorption, high-dose biotin supplementation often doesn't bring the miraculous effect for hair as advertised. Your body is very smart. It will excrete the excess, and sometimes it's your wallet that's shedding the most. The more concerning thing I want you to note is that these sky-high doses of biotin can become a troublemaker in routine blood tests. Emily later told me that her doctor almost misdiagnosed her with thyroid disease just because the test results were distorted by biotin. So before your annual health check, remember to pause this beauty vitamin for a few days. If biotin isn't the only answer, then where is the real energy reserve for hair lying? It might be depleting without you knowing, like a gas tank turning red in the middle of the highway. Let's explore this secret right after this. There's an ironic truth I often ponder while sitting drinking coffee on the porch. Sometimes the test indicators say you're normal, but you feel completely exhausted every time climbing stairs or trying to chase the kids in the backyard. This immediately reminds me of Karen, a 53-year-old friend living in sunny California. Karen is the model of an American healthy lifestyle. She's a longtime vegetarian, her fridge always full of greens from Whole Foods, and diligently practices yoga. Yet lately, around 3 p.m., she powers down, and what worries her most is her hair getting thinner, exposing the scalp. When she went for a general health check, the doctor said her blood count was fine. No anemia. She came home holding the results, but her heart full of confusion looking at the fallen hair on the bathroom floor. Have you ever felt fine on paper, but your body is crying for help? The secret lies in an indicator we often overlook: ferritin. Imagine it this way: the iron in the blood is like cash in your wallet for daily use, while ferritin is the savings account in the bank. You might still have cash to spend, meaning no anemia, but the savings account has gone to zero. This condition is called latent iron deficiency. Hair follicles are factories working extremely hard. They need enormous energy. When the savings, ferritin, drops below 30 nanograms per milliliter, your intelligent body will immediately cut spending on luxuries like hair to allocate iron to nourish the heart and lungs. For hair to truly grow back and thicken, the minimum necessary ferritin level usually needs to reach 50 to 70 nanograms per milliliter. Karen accidentally let this reserve deplete due to a plant-based diet without careful supplementation, because iron from plants is harder to absorb than from red meat. Understanding this was the turning point for her recovery. If this information is helpful to you, please comment, "I'm ready for healthier hair," or hit like so I have more motivation. But hold on, nutrition isn't just about what we lack. There's a free energy source right outside the window that we often avoid because of fear of aging, but without it, your hair can hardly revive. Just like we need iron to transport life in the blood, as I just shared, there's another energy source brilliantly present right outside that window, but ironically, it's the old friend we often innocently distance ourselves from. Try looking out at the garden. The morning sunlight is so beautiful, but when was the last time you really let your skin breathe under the sun without a layer of protective cream or long sleeves? This question reminds me of Nancy, a 62-year-old friend of mine who moved to Florida to enjoy retirement. You know, Florida is nicknamed the Sunshine State, but Nancy's real life plays out entirely in cool boxes. From the air-conditioned house, she quickly steps into the sealed car to drive to the shopping center or clinic. Always carefully shielded by a wide-brimmed hat and sunscreen because of the very real and understandable fear of wrinkles and skin aging for us women. When Nancy sadly showed me her increasingly thin hair and complained about vague joint aches, she believed it was an irreversible sign of old age, but the health check results told a different story. Her vitamin D levels were at alarming lows, even though she lives amid a sea of sun. Science has pointed out an interesting fact that vitamin D not only helps strong bones, but it actually acts as an important startup signal. Your hair follicles have small locks, called VDR receptors. Without enough vitamin D to open these locks, the hair follicles can't receive the signal to start a new growth cycle after falling out. They will hibernate too long. And the result is hair falls out without new strands growing to replace. For Nancy, adjusting her lifestyle to receive safe sunlight in the backyard every morning helped her regain vitality for her hair. Have you ever wondered if our overprotection of the skin is accidentally making the hair pay the price with gradual thinning? It's a delicate balance we can completely regain. However, nutrition isn't just the story of what we lack. There's a sweet enemy, often appearing in family dinners or times you reward yourself, silently igniting an inflammatory fire right under the scalp without you knowing. Are you accidentally ingesting it every day? We often reward ourselves with a bit of sweetness after a long week, right? I'm thinking of quiet Sunday afternoons, when the fragrant vanilla scent of baking cookies spreads throughout the kitchen, or weekend backyard BBQs with ribs drenched in rich sauce. Those are the small, warm joys of American-style life that all of us cherish. Patricia, a friend of mine, 56 years old, also loves those moments. She's the type who always has a box of homemade brownies ready when children and grandchildren visit. But Patricia noticed a strange thing. During stressful periods, when she turns to sweets as a way to soothe her soul, that's also when her waistline increases a bit. And, what worries her most, her hair falls out more on the comb. Have you ever noticed the connection between what we eat when stressed and the vitality of our hair a few months later? Actually, that amount of sugar and refined starch might be igniting a smoldering fire inside without us knowing. Scientific observations have pointed out a close link between insulin resistance, when our body is overloaded with sugar, and early hair loss. When blood sugar levels are unstable, it creates a mild but prolonged inflammatory state in the body, often accompanied by signs of metabolic syndrome. Imagine your hair follicles like delicate flower buds. If the soil beneath is too hot due to this inflammatory fire, they won't be able to hold on and grow strongly. Your body is very smart. When it feels it's fighting this overload and inflammation, it will prioritize protecting vital organs and withdraw energy from things considered luxuries like hair. Patricia learned that sometimes loving yourself isn't eating another cake, but choosing a more balanced menu to soothe that fire. But if the body inside is on fire, then is the soil directly nourishing the hair roots, your scalp being affected too? There's an invisible ecosystem right on top of your head, deciding the survival of each hair strand, and we're about to step into that secret garden right now. If the internal inflammatory fires we just talked about are like the temperature of a greenhouse, then the scalp is the soil nourishing that garden. Imagine you're standing in the backyard on a beautiful Sunday morning, looking at the rose bushes you've painstakingly cared for. You know well that if the soil is barren or oversprayed with weed killer, no matter how good the plant variety, the flowers won't bloom fully. Our hair is just like that. I have a neighbor named Brenda, 51 years old. Brenda is a dynamic woman, always busy with book club meetings and shuttling grandchildren to school. She has an obsession, oily hair. Fearing her hair looking flat and lifeless in family photos, Brenda washes her hair every day with the strongest cleansing shampoos she finds in the supermarket. But ironically, the more she washes, the weaker her hair, more falls out, and her scalp is always itchy and uncomfortable. During one tea visit, she confided in me with a look of disappointment. I keep it so clean like this, but why is my head still itchy and hair keeps falling out? What am I doing wrong, Alan? The truth is, on our scalp exists a rich ecosystem of microorganisms. It sounds a bit strange, but these tiny microorganisms, along with the natural oil, sebum, secreted from the sebaceous glands attached to the hair follicles, are the most precious protective barrier. When we cleanse too harshly, like Brenda did, we're accidentally destroying that natural protective barrier. The result is irritated, imbalanced scalp that reacts by inflaming or easily getting fungal infections, leading to conditions like seborrheic dermatitis, a common cause of hair loss. Have you ever felt your scalp tight and stinging right after washing, or those persistent itches bothering you right in the middle of an important dinner party? That's the cry for help from the soil on top of your head. Instead of seeing natural hair oil as an enemy, learn to live peacefully with it. Care for your scalp gently and respectfully, like how you care for your facial skin. A fertile, balanced soil will be the strongest foundation for hair strands to anchor and grow strongly. And trust me, restoring this balance will bring you more relief than you think. If you like these shares, comment, "Great hair." And if the video was even a little helpful, please like this video. Your support lets me know we're on the right path in this journey. Now, when we've understood about soil and water, let's talk about specific actions. Is there any truly effective scientific method to help you regain control of your hair? The hopeful answer is waiting for you right in the next part. There's an ancient saying I really appreciate. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. Your hair is like that tree. Understanding the causes from genetics or nutrient deficiencies is the first step. But what specific actions truly help us regain control? Let me tell you about Judy, a 65-year-old friend of mine. For many years, Judy never stepped out the door without a wide-brimmed hat. She has a beautiful hat collection, but beneath those brims was a deep insecurity about her much-thinned hair. She once thought at this age she'd have to accept it, until she decided to try once more, not with empty promises, but with real science. Judy started using topical minoxidil, a solution many of us have heard of. But the important thing isn't the bottle, but her persistence. You know, hair doesn't grow back overnight. It needs time, like waiting for tulip bulbs to sprout after a long winter. Judy also combined dietary adjustments, supplementing iron and vitamin D after consulting experts because we know how deficiencies in these affect the hair factory. Additionally, there are newer technological options like low-level light therapy, LLLT, hats emitting red light that you can wear while watching TV or reading, or platelet-rich plasma therapy, PRP, using nutrients from your own blood to awaken hair follicles. Of course, no method fits all, and you need to find your own formula for your garden. 6 months later, I met Judy again at the local book club. For the first time in many years, she wasn't wearing a hat. Her hair wasn't as thick as in her 20s, but it was healthy, and more importantly, her confident smile had returned. She told me, "Alan, I'm not trying to be 20 again. I just want to be the best version of myself now." Judy's story reminds us that it's never too late to start caring for yourself. But is thick hair all that defines our beauty at this wonderful age? I have one final thought I want to share with you, something I believe is more important than any therapy. I am Alan, and as the afternoon sun is gradually setting on the porch, I want to send you one last heartfelt message. We've been through a long journey together today, exploring the hidden secrets from genetics, unexpected stress storms, to the importance of old friends like iron and vitamin D that we sometimes forget amid life's busyness. I hope that, instead of worrying when looking in the mirror, now you feel more relieved knowing your body is just trying to send loving signals that need to be heard. Remember, the journey to regain vitality for your hair is a path needing patience and science, like caring for the backyard garden. You can't rush it, but the results will be incredibly worthwhile. Hair may change over the years. It may not be as thick as when we were in our 20s, but your wisdom and inner beauty can't be faded by time. True beauty at 50 plus is the confidence when you know you're caring for yourself properly, from checking ferritin levels to managing stress, not based on fear or empty advertisements. Don't let anything stop you from enjoying joy with family or friend gatherings. Thank you so much for stopping by, sitting, and spending precious time having coffee with me today. Your presence and companionship is the greatest motivation for me to continue sharing. If you find this conversation helpful, please hit the subscribe button and don't forget to turn on notifications. That way, we'll always stay connected and you won't miss the next warm health stories. Please share your story in the comments because our community is always here to listen and support each other. I am Alan. Thank you so much for taking your precious time to visit and listen. Always love yourself and keep the faith. Wishing you a truly peaceful day and see you again.